Hello everyone, my name is Travis Tanbu and today I'm going to be showing you around my digital unit plan. As you can tell from the top, it's going to be on the literary response and analysis for a high school class that's going to center on grades 9 through 12. On the right hand side, you're going to get your targeted content standards. More specifically, I am going to be concentrating on literary criticism, evaluating the aesthetic qualities of style, including the impact of diction and figurative language on tone, mood, and theme, using the terminology of literary criticism. Analyze the way that in which a work of literature is related to themes and issues of its historical period. I'm going to take more of a historical approach to teaching high school students about literature, and I know it sounds a little boring, but if you bear with me, I'll show you around the site. You might, hopefully find it more interesting. As we move down, you're going to see some of the student objectives and what I hope for them to accomplish or achieve by the end of this class. Moving down, we have also the essential questions. How does literature reflect change in society? The unit question, how does the use of themes, literary devices, and figurative language reflect the culture of the time and the text in which it was written? Those two are the main things I want to be addressing. Again, connecting history to literature, to certain authors, to basically the culture of the times. If you read further, you'll see some other questions that I will also be addressing. If you follow me to the left, I'll show you guys to my teacher lecture. On this side, I use Slide Rocket to present some information. It's not everything that I'm going to teach in the class, but hopefully, I'll use this to keep the students' attention and also further elaborate on discussion and different lectures. As we go through, one of the main things I was going to talk about is the modernist genre, ranging from 1880s to roughly 1950s. We're going to discuss modernism, the authors that are associated with modernism, just some basic information, again, what's associated with modernism, and as you can tell, there's 7 categories that I'm going to address. And in the other slides, you're going to have videos on YouTube that have to relate to the 7 categories. As they scroll through, you'll see more pictures that the students will be able to connect with the different terms. You're going to see also audio clips with mass culture. One of the important things that I want the students to address is the culture, because the books that are written now, I want them to be able to realize why the books are written or how pop culture affects the author's views and how he later on translate it into his writing. Scrolling through, again, we're going through 7 categories: totalitarianism, different videos on World War I, World War II. I want them to see these videos so they could actually get a first-hand kind of view on what happened during that time. And one thing I want the students to also do is to put themselves in the author's shoes, see what happened at that time, and kind of write brief journals on how they would react to it. Now, moving on to later in the lecture, we're going to go into the lost generation, something that I will cover throughout the semester. And those are basically the authors during the 1920s, expatriates that left America to go to Paris to further discover different styles of writing, why they're called the lost generation, how they were labeled. I'll explain that. And I'll give a brief biography on Ernest Hemingway. He's going to be one author that we're going to be focusing on the most. Basically his history, the life-changing events during his time that influenced his writing, and his novel that we'll be covering, The Sun Also Rises. We'll also have basic charts on the novel and how all the characters are interrelated to each other. And that's the lecture for the teaching lecture. Moving on to lesson 2, we're going on to the multimedia project. This project I also use Slide Rocket, and this is something I want the students to have fun with. If you follow me into Slide Rocket, they're going to be pretty much, if you read the description, they're going to be a director. They're going to have a casting crew, and then they're going to select actors, actresses, and find the best scene that they can recreate. We'll go through it right now. you're really going to concentrate on, Jake Barnes characters like Brett Ashley, and this is a student example. I chose Ben Affleck, and I gave a brief description on why I chose him. Brett Ashley, if you read the book or you know who she is, this is a pretty good example of actors that I think that would play her part well. A video, of kind of what or how she would play a good role. These are in the descriptions that I give. The students will have a better understanding of how to further look into how the videos that they want to choose. Also, build the trailer. I also enjoyed this semester how to use Animito, and it's very simple. This is a trailer that I created for the fake movie and the fake actors that I casted. Briefly, it's going to be about 30 seconds. I don't expect the students to go any further into it. Okay, like I said, brief 30-second video. They could use this program, or they could use video camera, whatever they want to use. One thing that I always recommend is to be as creative as possible and look for different resources and just have fun with it, but also at the same time learn the material. Further on in the slides, I give them examples and what I expect from the project. Like I said, if they scroll further down, they'll see basically the directions, the casting, the directions, the requirements, and everything else that's needed. And then with all the assignments, there's going to be a grading rubric. Just click on it, and then you'll see the standards that I said and how to get a good grade. Okay, moving on, we're going to go on to the third exercise. The third exercise that I created was timeline. Timelines are always helpful in history, literature, and almost every single subject. I have examples, I have the directions, and what I want from them is to pretty much create a timeline of the author's life and correlate it to the protagonist of The Sun Also Rises. I want them to do this so they could see and understand, hey, the author's integrating himself into a character in the novel, and more often than not, you see that in different novels. You have F. Scott Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby. You have, James Joyce in The Portrait of an Artist. And in this timeline, that's what I want them to see. I want them to notice, hey, Hemingway was part of a war. The main character of The Sun Also Rises was part of a war. I want them to kind of see the plot, the themes, the different things that goes on, and just make the connection. Because if they, with the authors these days, there's a connection between themselves and the characters in the book. I also provided them with different links to find information, biographical information on Hemingway himself, and just some helpful notes on The Sun Also Rises, just so they have some information to work with. Again, extra credit for me. It's always, be as creative as possible. If you throw something out there that's really eye-opening, that catches everybody's attention, I would definitely give extra credit for that. Going back, it's just a brief student example. Of course, I'm not going to do everything for the students. They're just going to basically see the brief information that I want from them. Just the media that's going to be involved. The bare bones brief example. Again, I have another brief example, just with more pictures and maybe a little more information. Going back, we're going to move on to lesson 4, the graphic organizer. Yeah, with this website, you'll see, connections. Basically, how I want the students to connect one thing to another. Cause and effect. That's one of the main things I want them to see with the author. Cause and effect with things in the novel itself. And like I said, it's going to be based on Ernest Hemingway and The Sun Also Rises. With this one, I just want them to find the theme of the novel, to find the cause and how it affects different characters in the play, how it affects different events. Basically, two causes, and I want 6 events. On the bottom, I also provided them with a brief example. The cause of what happened to Jake Barnes, the effects, and just some media devices, just some pictures and different things that I threw in there. For the students, if they want to throw in videos, if they want to throw in any other type of visual aids, that's perfectly fine. At the bottom, I also provided them with a grading rubric, much like the other one, my expectations and different things that can help them get a better grade. Alright, moving on, just different resources throughout the whole semester that they could use. Some useful information, some videos on the authors, some websites to help them with the reading, and just useful information. In the next tab, we have my assessment. That's something that I should have addressed early on. Pretty much kind of going day to day about what I expect from them, how to assess the entry levels, the progress monitoring, and the summative assessments. If you look through them, I have different assignments set up, different projects, and the projects that you saw earlier are in these slides. Uh, just things for the students to look at. And the basic things, the teacher site that they connect to for more information, just my own contact information, and that is my website. Again, it looks boring, but hopefully, with the different visual aids and different things that I'll be throwing out there, it will be informative and entertaining for the students. Things like the media project and just the web exercise. Hopefully, the students will get a kick out of this and learn from it. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed my website. I hope you guys learned something about the lost generation, and it's been fun.